What's going on, everybody? It is the second to last day of May. It's May 30th. I am testing out the camera on the Flow X13 laptop right now, so I'm just trying to, I guess, put some use into this thing outside of gaming. And we're trying to recap this month because there was a lot of purchases done this month. Um, so this month saw the another cough, the purchase of a couple of different things. I did a couple of upgrades on my computer systems. Worked on the house a little bit. I'm in the midst of this low carb diet right now, where there's no sugar, no rice, and no bread until September. So it is wow. My body feels weird. I've actually dropped 13 pounds in 2.5 weeks, which is crazy. Um, so yeah, we're working on that right now. But back to the tech stuff. Got a lot accomplished this month. Like I said, I got the Asus Flow X13, which I'm recording on right now, and testing out the camera for this thing. I've upgraded the computers in the house and in the garage. Well, my bedroom computer, my pre-built, the Alienware Aurora R10 Ryzen Edition that I got about 2 years ago. That came with the 3080. I was able to squeeze in a new Gigabyte 9070 XT. So I popped this thing in there. Well, I say pop it in there, but I was able to barely squeeze this graphics card into that Alienware. And so that one's fully powered up now. I can play pretty much any game in 4K on that one with no problem. Um, so that was a big accomplishment for me because that particular unit has a variety of issues that come inherent with it. Um, there's no space in the computer. Okay, it looks nice aesthetically on the outside because it's not a normal case design. A lot of lights, a lot of RGB, a lot of curvature, but there's not a lot of space inside, and the ventilation is very poor. So when I first got that computer a couple of years ago, I ended up changing the fans to better Corsair fans on the radiator, putting a intake fan on the front of interior front of the computer, and yeah, I actually changed the thermal pads and the thermal paste on the 3080 as well. So it was about time to do an upgrade on that computer because Forza Motorsport, the eighth, I guess, edition of the game, um, ran out of RAM in the middle of a race, and that 3080 only has 10 gigs of RAM in it. So it was long overdue to get the new graphics card in that computer. So we got that done this month. And then we did get the Asus, like I said, the Flow X13. Okay, 64 gigs of RAM. I already did an unboxing video that's on the channel, and I'm using it now. I'm actually gonna be testing some games out on it. And what I did last weekend, which I didn't record, is I upgraded the NVMe hard drive from 1 TB to 2 TB, and so now I can go ahead and do one more small upgrade, which I don't think we can call it an upgrade, but I have to get a 2 TB SD micro SD card to maximize the space to 4 TB. So I'm waiting for a sale. I'm not paying $200 for it. If I can get one for under $150, that'd be great. I'm thinking it may happen sooner than later because the micro SD express cards are coming out with the arrival of the Switch 2 next week. So it should, in turn, force the other cards to go down in price. So I'm waiting for that. Now, this past week, I did end up selling my EVGA 3070 Ti for about $400 on eBay. And ended up buying another AMD 9070 XT. This is the ASRock Steel Legend version of the card, which has a lot of RGB on it. So I may post a video of the installation of that card and some benchmarks as well in the next couple of days, depending on my schedule. I am working from home next week, so that'll give me a little time to do that. And finally, well, not finally, you guys actually saw it if you did watch the unboxing of the Flow X13. I got this while I was actually recording that video from Amazon, the Turtle Beach steel pivot controller, which actually has the cool rotating sections on it that could turn it into a FightPad like this. Okay, so it's pretty cool. I don't have to go through the pain that I normally went through with my other controllers, where I had to unscrew a section and use built-in parts and do that whole transformation. I really just click a button on the back of the controller, and that's it. It flips. I'm allowed to flip over the buttons and the directional pads. With these controllers, I have to use the built-in screwdriver that comes with it and put the new buttons on. So now I don't have to do that anymore. So it's my new favorite controller. And what I do like about it is there is no more pivot. There's no more pivot. Am I saying that correctly? There is a pivot. I want to know that there is a pivot in the middle of the controller, so it doesn't push down in the middle of the D-pad. So with fighting games, moves come out a lot easier. That's what I'm trying to say. And, I've been searching for this perfect controller for a while. I have all the Mad Catz controllers that come out every year for PS4 and PS5. I have two of these controllers for PS5, Xbox, and PC. They have the same functionality, but you see here, there's nothing in the middle that keeps the controller to allowing it to pivot. So in fighting games, if I try to do a move, the whole controller's D-pad goes down, which gives you unintentional directional presses on the controller. So the Turtle Beach controller doesn't do that. It's wired and wireless, so it's my new favorite controller. It feels fantastic, especially the D-pad feels great. So those are the updates for the month. I'm posting videos now of Switch games that have been announced. Switch 2 games that have been announced, and what they play like on a Rogue Ally X, those specific games. So I already have a video up of Street Fighter 6 using the settings on the Rogue Ally that gives it 60 frames per second. I put a video up of Wild Hearts, because Wild Hearts S was announced on the Switch 2. That game never really ran well on the HD systems on the Xbox Series X, which I also have it on. I do have it on Game Pass as well on PC. That's the version I'm using for the video on the Rogue Ally X. And you see the settings that I'm playing with in order to get it to run. And it's running at 31 to 34 frames per second. Still looks a little choppy. That game should really run at 60. But I know that even on the PC, that game is not optimized very well. Hasn't been updated much, and I think EA just kind of gave up on updating that game. So what we see now is what we get. Maybe they've done extra work on the Switch 2 version, that it'll work better. But again, Switch 2 has its own controversies right now, so I'll talk about that in a minute. My last update that I haven't done yet, I just got this one a couple of days ago. This is a, gosh, so camera can zoom in on here, 8 TB NVMe drive. So haven't put it in yet. Still sealed in the box. Let's take it out now. In fact, let's go ahead and pull this thing out. Got your instruction manual. We're doing a random unboxing right now, and it's the NVMe size of my thumb. But I haven't put it in any computer yet. Not sure which one I'm going to put it in because I have my big computer in the living room that has a 4090 in it, and most of my game is my powerhouse computer. And that one plays a majority of my games, but I have so much hard drive space on that computer. Not really sure. And my computer in the bedroom, the Alienware, is a little unoptimized. I have games I just don't play on there that I have copies of in the living room computer. So I don't really need them in a bedroom computer, especially if I haven't played them in a while. So I may do some cleanup on the hard drives there and create even more space. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to put this in yet. Another option is the Rogue Ally X, which I initially wanted to buy a 8 TB hard drive for, but at that time, the 8 TB were over $1,000. I was able to buy this one for $590 on Amazon, but it's also available for $590 in Micro Center until about last week. So anyway, I got it now on sale, and just don't know which computer to put it in yet. And obviously, my garage computer has a ton of hard drive space in there. In fact, every NVMe drive that I take out of my Rogue Allies, out of my Flow X13s, my Steam Decks that I had prior, I put them on this PCI board. And so there's 4 NVMe drives on one PCI board, plugged into the PCI times 8 slot. And yeah, it no, it's actually plugged into the PCI X16 slot. And the graphics card plugged to the PCI times 8 slot. Because there's virtually no difference in frame rate. As long as your rebar is on, you're good. So every NVMe drive that I have that's extra, that's kind of sitting around, goes in that board, and I'm able to run all those extra hard NVMe drives all in the system, and just store extra games on there from Steam and Game Pass. So not sure what I'm gonna do with 8 TB just yet. And now for the Switch 2. So I got a call from a friend that owes me a favor. I told him I've been making videos about how the Switch 2 was a system being released based on bad business practices, and how my daughter and I, we felt convicted about the situation. We just weren't gonna buy it, and I was met with silence because he he says, "Man, remember that favor I owed you? I know you were a Nintendo fan, so I got one of the Switches for you." I'm not sure how he did it, but he said just expect it to arrive on the 5th. And you can't say I owe you anything anymore. I wasn't planning on getting a Switch 2 at this point anyway. And it's a Mario Kart Bundle of all things. So whether I like it or not, I have a Switch 2. So what to do, right? I still plan on not buying most games for the Switch 2. I don't believe in the business practices Nintendo are pushing onto the industry. I think it's awful. Conflicted because things are getting more expensive, and Nintendo's being tone deaf right now, and this is a system that I think they're gonna ruin. They're gonna sacrifice a part of their name brand and their brand loyalty to make margins, increase their margins in what they're making. You know, you don't need to raise the price in digital games because digital games don't have the kind of expenses that physical games do. So I don't get the arguments about, you know, games back in 1990 were this much and N64. Again, I don't care because those games came on cartridges. There was no digital games back then. So I don't want to hear any of that trash about digital games should be 90 or $100 and GTA should be $100. You get paid to make good games, right? And if you make a good game, people will buy it. GTA didn't become successful because it was expensive. It became successful because they made a quality game for a price that nearly all people could afford and had access to, so people bought it. Why would you break that formula up and gate people out of playing your game? You know, instead of it being a game that when they get their paycheck, they can say, "Oh, I can pick this up on the way home." Why would you make your games where you have to really think and sacrifice? Oh, I want to buy GTA 6, but I also want to, you know, go buy food for my family. Or, I guess we're going to be eating, you know, rice and beans for the rest of the month because, you know, I want to start buying these $80 or $100 games now. You know? Excuse me. Woo. All right. So, this wasn't meant to be a rant. It was just kind of supposed to be an update for this month. But the GTA 6 trailer did drop, and I was excited. And this is the thing that I was thinking during that moment. Nintendo wants to charge $80 as a nostalgia tax because you have memories of having a good time with their games. So it's almost like you going into a restaurant to pick up a to-go order, and they're demanding a tip anyway. There was no water being refilled. There was no courtesy being, you know, given to you outside of here's your food, here's your receipt. This is how much it's gonna be. Have a nice day. But they still slide that tablet in front of you. Oh, can you just fill this out, by the way? 5% tip, 10% tip, 18% tip. Why would I give you an 18% tip when I'm picking up my food? That's how I feel about Nintendo just doing their job. They're the ninth richest company in Japan. You know, billions upon billions of dollars. And they still want more. And the Switch was successful because it was accessible. It was cheaper than all the other consoles. And I've been a Nintendo fan my whole life. Since 1985 when I got my first Nintendo system. 1987. That's when I turned 5. So I'm 42 now. But, yeah. Even despite my nostalgia, I'm not dumb enough to buy games for $80. Now, there has to be some caveats. So I know there's a website, a YouTube channel called Switch Life. Occasionally they have gift cards that are, you know, $5, $10 off. So you can get a $50 gift card for $40. So now instead of a game being 80, it's 70. You know, there's little tricks like that. But honestly, I do feel like those games that are going to be on the game key card crap, they're going to be on sale a lot because nobody's going to buy them. When people find out what the games are not on the actual SD card or whatever you want to call the cartridges, people are going to buy those things. They're going to have a warehouse full of them. And, I mean, it's more inconvenient than anything else. So I'm not going to support that system. Any games that are multi-platform, and a majority of the Switch's library, 90% of it are games that you can get somewhere else. I'm going to buy on Steam. Why would I buy it on another digital platform? Because Steam has been around. My first usage of Steam was back in 2002. And I bought a graphics card, like one of my first graphics cards, and it came with Half-Life 2. That copy of Half-Life 2 that's on Steam, I still have access to 23 years later. Steam isn't going anywhere, okay? And I didn't start using Steam until, stop using the other storefronts as much until I got my Steam Deck. So Valve's program did work on me. I bought a Steam Deck at launch. I pre-ordered it the day they announced it because I wanted an alternative to my Switch that could play games with better visual fidelity. And so I bought the launch model with the 512, and um, I upgraded that one to a 2 terabyte. And I started buying the games that I had previously. How can I say this? The games that you know I had access to, say it that way, um, without necessarily paying for them. I started to go on Steam, and the Steam prices were incredible. So damn near everything that I had access to, I ended up just buying all over again, or buying really for the first time on Steam. And I mean, I bought the whole Dead Rising series, Dead Rising 2, 3, and 4, all the DLC for $13. I bought the remaster of Dead Rising 1 for $35. So I bought the entire Dead Rising series for $48. Price of one game. Um, I had already bought Street Fighter 6 on PS5, but I had to buy it again on Steam because for all the seasons plus the base game, I think I probably paid $35-$40 for the entire thing on Steam. Um, yeah, I mean, games I bought on PS5 already, I rebought on Steam because the good thing is with the computers I just showed you, I have, my garage computer, um, my bedroom computer, and then my living room computer with the 4090 in it. My Steam cloud transfers to all of those, so I can literally go and work out in my garage. Um, Pop on a Steam game I was playing yesterday in my bedroom, and my save file transfers over. So Metaphor ReFantazio, I love that game. I can continue it in the garage after a workout, put that to 3 in the morning, put on some Korean Netflix movie after that, watch the movie till 5 in the morning on a weekend, obviously not during a weekday, and just camp out of my garage all night, you know, and just have a good weekend. But I'm able to go between different computers and my Rogue Ally and my Flow X13, you know, and all my saves transfer over. So I'm able to benchmark and test on every system, and I don't have to worry about my save files. And Steam, they don't overstep when it comes to policing you. So when Nintendo talking about breaking systems and monitoring your game chat, and being able to look at your game video, um, make sure, and I'm actually turning my letter in tomorrow, make sure that you opt out of the ability not to take Nintendo to court. I already have my letter typed up. I'm mailing it off tomorrow on the 31st. Because it's been less than 30 days since I opted in. Because the weird thing is that my daughter, who's on my account and uses some of my games, she had to opt in to continue to use the games that we had already bought. Otherwise, they will lock her out of using games I paid full price for on my Switch. So I'm gonna go ahead and send a letter off tomorrow, and I'm gonna have it so that it is confirmed that it arrives at Nintendo's headquarters. So that letter's going out immediately. So I'll be sending it off tomorrow when I go to the post office. But yeah, Steam's gonna be my trusted platform. I am gonna be receiving a Switch 2 from this friend at Best Buy next week. Yeah, he doesn't owe me anything anymore, but I wasn't planning on getting one until Nintendo changed their practices. So I have to figure out how I'm going to navigate that, but I've kind of already made up in my mind that depending on how egregious the pricing is on games that I want, so let's just say Metroid is $80. Unless I get a free copy from Nintendo to review or something like that, or some other way where I can get a copy of the game, I'm not going to play it. I don't mind not doing that. That's fine. My backlog is, oh God. I literally can spend a Saturday turning on my Xbox Series X and just saying, okay, I'm gonna spend 20 minutes at a time playing a game, going to another game that I haven't played, and going to another game I haven't played. I can go through 5, 6 games on a Saturday that I've never played before because those 20 minutes, if it's a really good game, turns into 40 minutes, turns into 3 hours. But I try to do 5 games on a Saturday I've never played before because I'm not working on a Saturday usually. Same thing with my PS5. Last week I actually just put on random games on the PS5 and played First Ascendant for the first time. I played that Hot Wheels racing game, which was great, but it was really easy to fall off the track. So I tried that for the first time. It was in my library. But I was just trying random games that I've never tried, and I can do that with all my systems. I have games that I'm just starting, that I'm pretty close to beating. Games that I need to beat the prequel before I start playing the sequel. And I have libraries of these games. That's not even including the 130 games I have on Steam now in less than 2 years. Oh my God. And some games are amazing. Dying Light 2 I want to finish. What else? Visions of Mana. Enjoying that game quite a bit. On my PS5 I want to beat Grand Blue Relink, the RPG. Amazing. That and Visions of Mana I think are my two go-tos for my really colorful, really old school Secret of Mana style. Visions of Mana is a sequel, but action RPG games that I really grew up on. They're graphically updated versions of games I played on a Super Nintendo. So definitely want to finish those and get more involved in those. What else? But even like I said, I could put any of these. My original Switch, I've probably beat the least amount of games on my original Switch because I would buy a game like No More Heroes 3, and then almost immediately it's available on PC. PC is my go-to platform, obviously, with all the graphics cards I'm buying. But I'm going to continue to buy Nintendo franchises that aren't overpriced. So this is what the Switch 2 window's looking like for me. I'm not overly excited about having another handheld because I've been buying. Steam Deck was exciting. That was nice. And I got the original Rogue Ally with the Z1 Extreme processor, the white one. And then the newer version came out. The black one came out with the 24 gigs of RAM, the 80-watt battery. So I was even more excited about that. But in all honesty, when I think about the Switch 2, I'm gonna try Mario Kart and see if I like it. Emotions for me do factor in when I play video games. I haven't beat Metal Gear Solid 5 yet because of during that development time. I remember what's happening with Kojima and Konami, and because I had ill feelings toward Konami, how they were rushing him to finish the game, and there were rumors that he couldn't finish or he left out a certain section because they were rushing him. I never really got super far into Metal Gear Solid 5. I do want to finish it. I do want to make it a point this summer to finish it, and I want to finish it on one of my portable systems. I made the Rogue Ally X. I may want to finish it on. What else? Oh yeah, so I was saying the emotions do factor into how I buy and play games. When I have ill feelings toward a company, I support the company less. It's not even something that I consciously do. I subconsciously do it because I don't want to support bad things. I had every intention of not buying a Switch 2. Luckily, I didn't have to, but now I have one. Or I'm going to have one. And I'm really going to limit the usage that I have on this thing. So if anything is multi-platform, and I want to play it portably, I have a Rogue Ally X for that. And I'm going to get a Rogue Ally 2 whenever they announce it. Okay? but PCs will be my primary platform for pretty much everything. I know PlayStation has their exclusives. I know Xbox has some decent sales sometimes. So when I'm looking to get a game that is a Ubisoft game, and don't look at me like that. I'm not a huge Ubisoft fan, but I know a lot. I've noticed when I went through my game library that I had most of the Assassin's Creed series uh, on my Xbox. I never even beat an Assassin's Creed game, but I've gotten them free over the years through when they were giving like free games away through Gold. Got a lot of those. I've never actually purchased an Assassin's Creed game other than Valhalla, and I got past the opening section, and that's all I did. Um, Other Ubisoft games that I actually do own, Avatar, haven't even turned it on yet. Um, I do have that Riders Republic game, but it's on PS. I got it on PS5. The reason why I get some of those games because they are on sale, really good sales. I'm talking about the $100 Gold Super Deluxe Edition will be $19 on Xbox, and I'm like, well, I was gonna waste this $19 at the sports bar, getting drinks and hanging out with friends. I can get a coffee, and watch the game instead of getting a bunch of drinks. I can stay in this weekend and not spend that extra money. So I can cook my dinner instead of going out. So all my games I'm gonna buy that are multi-platform on the Switch 2, I'm gonna buy it on another system. I'm not gonna support any company on the Switch 2 with game key cards, with Nintendo's ability to brick your system, and what they did to Power World was ridiculous, man. I'm just, you can't. I know other videos have said this. You can't patent game mechanics, and so I know it was a better Pokemon game, but you look at every FromSoft game, and there are variations on the same thing, same gameplay, Some hell, Lords of Fallen looks like pick any one of the Dark Souls or Demon Souls games, and they added extra stuff just like the Power World crew did. So you can only imagine if FromSoft decided to sue the CI games, whatever they're called, um, for having Lords of the Fallen look so much like a Souls game, because it is a Souls game. So this is a monster capture game, just in the same vein. Well, Capcom is different. Their Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter games are different Pokemon, because you are actually killing. You're killing your prey and you're making armor and weapons out of whatever you capture or kill. So, but there's still enough similar play mechanics in there where Nintendo, if they were trying to patent these gameplay mechanics, they should have gone after Capcom. But, I think that it was just that they made a better Pokemon game that pissed them off. And which sucks because they're stifling creativity. If anything, they should have hired those developers to work on a Pokemon game for them. And not hire the same people that are doing the bare minimum, making Pokemon games that we're all disappointed with. Power World when the original form was really nice. I really enjoyed that game. Um, so, yeah, going forward with the Switch 2, that's what I was talking about. Releases that are coming or that have been announced so far. What I'm gonna already have access to on this system that technically is a rental system. You don't actually own anything because Nintendo owns it, and they could take it away from you at any point they want. I'm gonna have Mario Kart World because it comes with the bundle. I'm gonna have my upgrades of the Zelda games because I have Nintendo Online for my original Switch, and I have the expansion already, so all that stuff gets transferred over for free. I don't care about Donkey Kong, to be honest with you. Looks like a fun enough game. I've never been a huge Donkey Kong game fan. I mean, I played Donkey Kong Country. I beat it. It was fun. But I know Donkey Kong on Nintendo 64 I didn't really like. So I'm probably gonna skip that one for a while until there's some crazy Black Friday sale 2 years from now. I'm a Metroid fan. Um, so that's one that's up in the air. Um, what was the fast racing game, the hovercraft game, the Fast RX or RMX, something like that. I've been a fan of that series for a while. It's what, $13 or something like that and it's only digital, so it's only 3 gigs too. So I might get that. That might be the one game that I actually buy for the Switch, um, outside of possibility of Metroid for the whole year. I'm not going to get a Switch version of any of the third party games because, especially ones with game key cards, that's stupid to me. um, or any of the ones charging $80. I want those things to sit there and rot. Borderlands 4, hell, I wouldn't even get that. Again, I also, my buying decision is also based off emotion, and so I want to buy that on any system for $80, just to let them know it's not going to happen. You know, I know there's a lot of people that aren't good with money, and they'll buy things out off of emotion as well. I'm the exact opposite. I will not buy something off emotion. Um, what's interesting though? It's my last point before I end this video. I remember the joy that I had getting a new video game system. I'm not excited about the Switch 2. I remember the day after my 5th birthday, FedEx shows up to my grandmother's house Monday morning, brings in my new Nintendo Entertainment System, the control set, I think it's called, the light gun, Mario Kart, Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. I put it on. I went and stood on the dining room table, and 9 o'clock in the morning, the guy shows up, and I open it up on the dining room table. Like, oh my god, I have a Nintendo. Only at the time in Louisiana, only my cousins had Nintendos, and they would bring it over to my grandmother's house where I stayed, and my mom and I would play their Nintendo when they came to visit. But now, at that point, I got my own Nintendo and had a lot of great memories of receiving it and going to the video store, Video Plus, renting games every weekend because I had good grades. And then I wanted a Sega Genesis. And so the following year, actually a couple of years have passed. It's probably 1990 at this point. I come home from school one day. My grades were really good. And my mom says, hey, let's go to Toys R Us. And we go to Toys R Us. And back then, all the video game systems, there were display units behind glass cases. And had a little TV attached to each of them. And they were all looping the demo for each game. And so I ended up getting a Sega Genesis, and it was so funny because I'm in Toys R Us looking at the Master System. Look at the Sega Genesis. I didn't know which one was newer because I never heard of the Master System at that point. So I'm like, I heard of the Genesis, but is the Master System better? I can only imagine if I thought about the Master System and found out it was worse. Yeah. But I got that with the Sonic the Hedgehog bundle, and I remember the feeling that I had, and I had the giant the poster that comes with your new system that shows you all the new games, all the games that are for the system. I wish it still did that. It was included inside the box, all the games coming out to the Switch 2. Here's a giant poster to put on your wall. These companies have forgotten what it's like to be a kid receiving these systems. Now it's a corporate product. It's like buying a VCR now, right? But I remember opening up that Sega Genesis poster, and there's Golden Axe, and there's, Herwig Zong, and there's Mickey Castle of Illusions. I wanted to try all these games. But then I saw the picture of Streets of Rage, and you see Axel in front on the streets doing basically a tiger knee, a jumping knee to somebody, in the middle of the street, and I'm like, I want to play that game. So that Christmas, got a Sega Genesis, and it was glorious. No, so I'm sorry, I completely misstated that. I didn't get I had the Sega Genesis for almost a year at that point, and I got Streets of Rage as my Christmas gift, and it was wonderful. I remember leaving church on a Sunday. We were leaving church and going back to my grandmother's house where we lived with, my grandmother. We took a stop at the store. I think it was Toys R Us again. And she bought me Golden Axe on a Sunday. Randomly. Never rented it, never played it before, but my mom was that kind of lady where she just surprised you. Because she rewarded you for being a good kid, getting good grades, and staying out of trouble. I remember coming home one day from school, Sega Genesis story, and we went to Toys R Us just to look around, maybe a month or two prior, and I'm like, oh, Mom, Spider-Man, and I come home from school one day. I go to my mom's like I always do, to do my homework. I went to kneel on the side of her bed, take my books out and do my homework while I'm watching, Batman, Ninja Turtles, all those things. And I go in her room, on the bed, in the plastic, sealed copy of Spider-Man on Genesis. She went back to the store before I got home. Or maybe she did it the day before and just hid it in the closet. I don't know. But when I came home from school that day, Spider-Man was in the middle of her bed. I freaked out. I was so happy. Oh my God, I was happy. Oh man. My mom really loved me. Except for she didn't love me the day that I came home during that year. And I had never beaten the first boss on Sonic 1 in the Green Hill Zone, but up until that point. I come home after school, sunny day, go in my mom's room like I always do. My mom was off work that day. Not only had she beaten the boss, but she was on the Marble Zone. I hadn't seen the Marble Zone yet outside of the demo they show you when the game first starts. How dare she go to a boss or go to a level I hadn't seen yet and get further than me? I'm seeing all new stuff that I have to catch up to. My mom was beating me at my own games. How dare she? How dare she? Right? But I had a lot of great memories with the Sega Genesis. TGIF was a thing back then with, Family Matters and Step by Step and Hanging on Mr. Cooper, Dinosaurs. All those TV shows would come on from 7 to 9 in Louisiana. And that was our time for the family to get in front of the TV, watch those family-oriented shows, and have a good time. And so my mom would come home. We'd play Streets of Rage 2 together at that point. The story behind that game, too. And, or any other video game. We'd play games together. We would leave at 6 and go to Sicily's Pizza, get a big pizza for dinner that night, rent 2 movies from the video store, and if my grades were good, I could rent NES games or Genesis games, because I had both systems now. And, we'd, 7 o'clock, we'd be eating our pizza, watching one of our new movies. After the movie went off at 9, or, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to be my time mixed up. We would be watching TGIF shows until 9, eating our food. Then we would watch a movie from 9 to 11 that night. And then, finally, at 11, I'd start playing the new games, right? And my mom would sometimes sit and play the games with me. Or she'd just watch me play and give me tips on what she'd see that'll help me get past a certain point. Because I'm still young back then, and she was catching all these things. She was very intuitive when it came to stuff like that. And so I wake up the next morning, 6:30 in the morning, watch Saturday morning cartoons, and by the time noon hit, the cartoons were going off. I'd pop on a game, one of my rentals, and then some point in midday we watched the second movie we rented because it was 2-day rentals, and Sunday toward the evening we'd bring all that stuff back to the video store. But that was the experience back then, back in the 90s, growing up and really enjoying gaming. Things now I have a backlog of games that I'm probably never going to catch up with because it feels so insequential when you buy a lot of these games now. The game company sold you an experience back then. It made you excited for the ecosystem you were in. That Sega Genesis poster was fantastic. In fact, the NES had a poster like that as well. Because I remember seeing Burger Time on there. On that poster they gave you. And you're proud to be a Nintendo owner because you had your poster. You're proud to be a Genesis owner because you had your poster. The N64 didn't have a poster. The Super Nintendo didn't. I don't think they had a poster either. But they forgot the joy of this really being a kid's product. And just because it's a kid's product doesn't mean adults can't enjoy it. Because you think about it, all the adults that grew up in the 80s and 90s and 2000s now have jobs. And you can ask any millionaire, what does he spend most of his money on? He buys the toys, the cars that he owned as Hot Wheels when he was a kid. He buys the boats. Instead of having a little boat in a tub that he used to play with when he was a kid, he owns that yacht now, that helicopter that he dreamed of flying one day. He becomes a kid and appreciates his toys, and can afford his toys now. And if you forget that there's a generation coming up that's not able to experience that anymore, as a company like Nintendo, I don't think Sony ever did it. Well, Sony, what they would do, they had PlayStation Magazine and PSM. And they would have a demo disc in every magazine you would buy in a Walgreens or whatever, where magazines were a big thing. And so they sold you an experience. Nintendo would send you VHS tapes. They had one for Donkey Kong Country that I received in the mail when I was a Nintendo Power subscriber. But man, just the experience is so different now. All you get is a plain box, the system, one controller instead of two, and a power cord and an HDMI cable. And instructions on how to turn the system on. And that's literally it. You used to get an experience in the box. It used to make you excited. Games just give you that extra, when you buy them. I remember buying the Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, on NES. It came with a pizza coupon for a personal pan pizza. You buy the game, there's a coupon to get a little pizza when you go to pizza next time. As a kid, that stuff was amazing to us. But with things being digital and there's no more experience anymore, you're paying for your experience now. You're paying for the extra statue. Oh, now it's $110 if you want the deluxe edition, But when they used to give you an experience in the box, you had something you felt proud of. You look forward to that, buying that game or buying that system. I saw the unboxing for the Switch 2. The two controllers on diagonally placed on the box, and your little screen, and your dock, and some white cardboard. Swag, dude. That's so. I got to experience the golden age of buying and owning video game systems. And I'll never regret that. Like I'm so thankful that, this is not all I've experienced in my life. I'm happy and I'm thankful that I was able to wait in line for my PS2 my first year of college, and I just turned 18 when the PS2 came out, and got up at 4 in the morning, stood in line at Toys R Us with my mom. My class started at 9, and my mom says, "Go to class, I'll wait here." There were only 7 PS2s that morning. And because my mom got me up and drove behind me to Toys R Us and waited in line for me. You know, she was number 6 in line of 7 PS5s, and there was a line around the building. I had my classes end at noon, and I drive home. I'm racing home to see if she got the system. And I get in the door. Christmas tree's already up, and she says, "I said, Mom, you got it." She says, "Yeah, but your butt gonna be mine if you touch it before December 3rd on 25th, because it was a Christmas present." So she bought me that, and she bought me Armored Core 2. That was my launch game for PS5. Sorry, PS2, PS2. Um, but I remember that experience. You know, now it's not like that. You know, the packing games were amazing back then. The bundles, yeah, were really nice. I think just being with family. I love my daughter. She's 17, and you know, I remember the year of COVID, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X came out, and I was blessed enough to get a launch of both of those systems as well. So the PS5 came out. The UPS guy didn't leave it at the door, so we have to go drive all the way to another city and go to the UPS hub and pick it up. But we got home, we unboxed it, we had fun. And I bought Demon Souls remake with it, which I still need to beat before the PS6 comes out. And then we got the Xbox Series X that came a couple of days later. And my experience with that was playing a lot of games that were on my Xbox One X. Was there even a launch title that I bought for that game? Oh, that was the Xbox One that I bought. I got Titanfall and Forza Horizon 2 from Tiger Direct when there was a good website to buy game systems from, when they were on equal footing with Newegg. That's when I got the Xbox One. Then I bought the One X, which was an amazing system. So I'm going through all these memories with you guys because I wanted to just do an update on, you know, obviously the PCs and stuff like that, but I just got to thinking about how gaming used to be. It wasn't even just about the games. You felt like you were in part of an ecosystem that was just, it's like a Disney used to feel, you know? And you were proud to own every product, but these companies are corporate to even kids now, and a lot of the marketing is just weird. It's not kid centric. It's not, and there's even people like me that on one of my PCs I have 68 terabytes of hard drive space, some NVMe's, some SSDs, and some just a couple of 20 terabyte or 16 terabyte, you know, regular hard drives. And they have all the Saturday morning cartoons on there, all the TV shows I ever grew up with, every game you can possibly imagine. All my emulators are on there. I mean, it's, you know, and a lot of my computers have a ton of hard drive space because a lot of those things I have copies on other systems. But the reason why I decided to base my systems around those things is because that part of my life was so precious back then. And there was a market for that. And if companies like Nintendo would make those things affordable and would have events that really draw families in and traditional values, and they will be successful, you know, in a way that will create a lasting brand that will last even longer than my lifetime. But they're cashing in all their goodwill right now to be greedy. And it's sad to see with this new CEO, and you know, with the new Nintendo of America president, Doug Bowser, where somebody's just trying to You feel the manipulation when they tell you about this variable value-based pricing, which is really just taxing you for your nostalgia. There's no voice actors. There's no amazing graphics engine that they had to build from scratch. They're just charging you for Mario Kart World because you enjoyed Mario Kart 8 on 2 different systems. And it made them a lot of money. And now they're trying to make even more money by doing less work. Again, I can't get behind that. And had I not gotten the system for free, I would have been happy to wait 2 years, 3 years to get this thing. Hopefully after some change would have happened. But my goal tomorrow, turning that letter saying I do not accept the terms of service in regards to being able to take them to court. I'm gonna get that letter, printed out and mailed off by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and that'll be that. Thank you guys for watching the video. Again, I do wish that we all could experience the joy that it used to be a gamer, and I think that it's up to us individually to try to capture some of that joy because the corporations aren't doing it anymore. It sucks. All right. Have a great one, guys.